What's going on, people? We are Tottenham TV, back here for another Tottenham update. And you've got a troublesome trio here today. It's me, Sim, and Brian Daigle in the studio. How are we doing, Brian?
I am doing very, very well, lads. How are you both?
New season, new era. I'm happy.
Yeah, we're doing all right. Look, I was first look at Angel in the Premier League yesterday. I was happy with what I saw, so I'm excited for the new season.
All right, well, let's get into the update. There is not long left of the transfer window, so let's talk about some potential outgoings first and foremost. And let's start off with Tanguy Ndombele, as Tom Barkley says that Tottenham are prioritising the sale of Tanguy Ndombele. It's understood that Tanguy Ndombele has not impressed with his timekeeping and attitude since Ange Postecoglou has taken over. Spurs want to sell him if they can find a buyer before the September the 1st deadline. And Ali Gold says that despite a bright start to Ange Postecoglou, he grew unimpressed with Tanguy Ndombele's attitude and application as pre-season wore on, including his timekeeping. So pretty much the same info there from Tom Barkley and Ali Gold. Sim?
Well, it was a bit late. Who cares? I'm joking. Look, I'm not going to lie. He's disappointed me, I have to say. I really thought maybe Ange could get a new kind of mentality out of him that he'd shown already since being at the club. And it seemed as though, as the article indicates, like when he first started pre-season, that there seemed to be maybe something different about him. But it seems as though he's reverted back to his old ways. And look, if that's going to be the case, we have to get rid, because we can't be having that kind of attitude around the squad.
What did I say to you, Sim? I said, get ready to be disappointed one last time with Tanguy Ndombele, and that has come to pass. But Brian,
I'm open for people to change. That's what I'm saying.
Brian, how are you feeling?
It's probably the most obvious thing to have happened with the players coming back. If we knew someone was going to go out or someone was to let us down, it would have been him. And now you've got to think, if we can't get rid of him and he's showing this poor attitude, poor timekeeping, poor everything, is this a transfer deadline day contract rip-up?
Yeah, I think it very well could be, to be honest. If we can't find a buyer and this does rumble on right until the end, I wouldn't put it past us to just let him go for free, to be honest. It's going to be a big payoff, though, isn't it?
200 grand a week for another 2 years.
But
it's a very big payoff.
They were looking at 11 million to get rid of him. That's a huge hit on his transfer fee anyway, isn't it?
I think if they can't get rid of him, maybe they'll be open to another loan, and then he'll go into the final year of his contract next season. I think that's probably the most likely outcome, wouldn't you say, Sim?
Probably, yeah. It's going to be very difficult for Turkish teams apparently interested, but he doesn't want to go there. And a lot of teams around Europe are going to struggle to kind of make that financial package work for them. So I think it's going to be very difficult to shift him unless he takes a compromise on his wages or somehow someone stumps up the cash. So I envisage another loan deal here, to be honest.
Next up, let's talk about some more outgoings, as Tom Barkley says that Tottenham are attempting to sell 7 players before the transfer window shuts. Hugo Lloris, Jed Spence, Eric Dyer, Japhet Tanganga, Sergio Reguilon, Harvey White and Tanguy Ndombele. And there seems to be a shift in the centre-backs since the whole captaincy thing. Eric Dyer threw a hissy fit and all that. And Davinson Sanchez has maybe grown in stature a little bit from that Barcelona game in pre-season, and another positive showing defensively from him on the first game of the Premier League. Do you agree with that, Brian?
Yeah, I do. And it's good to see that we're actually actively trying to get these players out the door. Like you said, it does look like Eric Dyer has had a hissy fit, and it looks like Ange ain't going to tolerate it, which is another great thing to see from Ange Postecoglou. These players do need to go out now, especially if they're going to help us spend money in the summer. We need to start getting these players out the door. And we normally bring 7 players in, don't we? So trying to get 7 players out will be an achievement.
Especially in a week and a half. But yeah. Sim, you feel like all these 7 players are surplus to requirements?
Yeah, I don't see a need for any of them right now, to be honest. There's no one in that squad who I'm gutted, apart from maybe Spence, who I'm a bit disappointed might be out the door. But again, we've got Porro and Emerson covering that role right now. So there's not really a need for any of them. And it's very hard to create that team and family feel when you've got such a bloated squad and there's constantly players missing out. I think Chelsea had this problem last season when they have a lot of talent, but there's just too many players to keep everyone happy, and it does cause problems within the squad. I really believe that. So I think Ange if he wants to really change the culture and he wants everyone pulling in the same direction, I think trimming that bloated squad is more important than people give it credit for. That kind of those kind of elements.
When you're talking about these 7 players, how much money do you reckon we can drum up? Because when you're actually looking at it, Hugo Lloris, you ain't going to get nothing for him. Jed Spence, I mean, he's one that you can probably get some money for. Well, he signed him for like 15 million or something last summer. I mean, would you reckon you're getting 10 million?
Yeah.
Something like that. Eric Dyer, how much are you going to get for him?
10, 5.
5, I would say. I mean, he's got a year left in his contract as well. Japhet Tanganga, you might be able to get something from him, maybe another 10 million. Reguilon as well, probably a similar fee. Harvey White, I don't envisage us getting much money for him. And Tanguy Ndombele, I mean, I can't see anyone stumping up the money with the wages he's on, probably another loan deal. So in terms of 7 players, you're probably talking about a maximum of maybe like 20, 30 million.
Yeah.
Well, yeah, look, it's not that much money, but every little helps, as I'm sure Levy would attest.
Yeah, it's not even just every little helping, it's just getting these players off the wage bill as well, which is a massive thing.
Yeah, that's the most important thing. I think when people like looking at big squads, like fans and stuff, I don't think they take into account how much of an effect it can have to have unhappy players around the place, around the squad, bringing everyone else down sometimes. So I think it's very important that everyone feels important within the squad and getting players who aren't wanted out the door.
Absolutely. Let's talk about potential incomings now. A few strikers to talk about, and we're going to start off with Gift Orban, as Romano says that Tottenham's interest in Gift Orban is real and a move for the player is expected in the coming days. He has jumped up their shortlist in terms of priority. Ghent have made it clear that only offers of at least £25.8 million will be considered. Dan Kilpatrick says that Tottenham are expected to make a formal bid for Gift Orban before the end of the transfer window. Spurs believe Orban, who is valued at more than £25 million, has enormous potential. Sim, what are you thinking?
I think 25.8 million. Is it a big outlay for a striker who's only played 25 games in the Belgian league? Potentially, but you look at the current striker market. There's not a lot of good strikers right now in around Europe or in the Premier League. You got players like Rasmus Højlund, who has not played that much game time in Serie A, and he's going for 70 million. So I think you just got to deal with the market as it is. And if there's a striker who you really believe has a lot of potential and believe that could really fit how Ange wants to play, Ali Gold saying he can be versatile as well. He's played out wide before. I think you just got to bite the bullet, even if you think you're overpaying a bit. I actually don't think you are. 25 million in this current market is probably a fair price for a player who's showing the amount of potential that Gift Orban is showing. And you could potentially, it could be, even if it could flop, but you're not the outlay isn't like that substantial where I think it's hurting you that much. And I think the upside is massive. If he's as good as his potential saying he is, this guy, as soon as you sign him, could easily become a 50, 60, 70 more £80 million player. So if we've identified and really believe this guy could be potential to be the number 9 at Tottenham, 25 million could be a snip.
Yeah. Brian, how are you feeling about this one?
Yeah, like Simon said, with Højlund going to Man U for 72 million, this is like the sweet spot for Tottenham Hotspur, the kind of fees we look to pay, and a lot of this fan base want this move. His reputation is growing, and can you at that price afford to risk him going to another club, hitting the ground running and being like, look what we could have had? This is a deal that I think everything matches: his potential, the price, he's available, so I think this is one we have to make all the stops for.
I think it has to be this summer as well.
Yeah, it has to. 100% it has to be this summer, because I believe that if you don't pull the trigger on him now, he goes to a Dortmund, Atalanta, Leipzig, a team like that, and from there he'll move for like 80 million or something like that. And everyone's going on about like, oh, he's only played in the Belgian league, he's not proven this, that. But if you believe in your scouting and you believe in the talent of the player, that's all you need to go on, because, you look at players that we've passed up on the past. Kvisha from Napoli, who I can't remember what league he was playing in at that time. Rubin Kazan, there you go. And then you look at Kim Min-jae as well, which we balked at from the Turkish league and also the Chinese league as well. And look at the stars they've gone on to make themselves. And now both of them are worth like in excess of 80 million probably. So I'm not saying every player that we're linked with and every player that we're interested in is going to turn out like that. But if you really believe in their talents and their quality, don't just balk because they're not playing in a top league, because they can come in here and do the business if they're that good.
Yeah, when it comes to strikers as well, goals are hard to come by, and it's high risk, high reward. That's how it is. And I think, yes, he's only played in the Belgian league, but I think I think there is a risk worth taking, essentially, in the position we're in.
Yeah, I completely agree. Another striker who we're linked with is Jonathan David. As Fabrizio Romano says that Tottenham have been watching Jonathan David for a long time, but nothing is advanced, seeing as he is Canadian. We'll start with you, Brian.
Yeah, I thought you might have gone down that route. Listen, as soon as I saw that picture come out, for personal reason, I would love him to come. He is a very good, powerful striker and quick. If he did come, obviously how it would be reacted in Canada, it would just explode. So when I'm back there, it would just be huge. He is a guy with serious potential, and I think he could do a fantastic job in Ange's system. And I would absolutely love to see him at the club, but that's for personal reasons for when I'm back home.
Well, you can imagine it now. Spurs signing Jonathan David, Levy taking the team out to Canada.
There you go. That sentence appeals to me, but not for the team coming out. But yeah, no, you could see, like, they did that with Jermaine Defoe, didn't they? When he joined Toronto, he went out there. Yeah, it could be. And I think he could be very, very good in the Premier League.
But he's going to cost that's probably why we haven't looked at him, because he's cost 60 million probably up.
What are your thoughts on Jonathan David?
I like him. I think he's a good player. He's a bit like Richarlison in a way. Like, he's a bit like, he's got good pace, he's a good finisher, he's decent on the ball, but he's still not perfect all-round kind of player. Like, his hold-up play is not fantastic. He's also he's a good finisher, but he's a bit of an inconsistent finisher as well. But he did get a lot of goals in Liga last season. I think he would fit in Ange's system really well. But if it's a choice between spending all that money on him or going for a Gift Orban, I just think Gift Orban's worth the risk. I don't think Jonathan David is any more. He's probably a bit more of a sure thing, but he's not like that much more of a sure thing where it's not worth the risk on going on Orban.
I get the feeling like, because we were linked with Jonathan David under Conte, like, I wouldn't want him in a Conte system. I'm not sure if he's good enough for that. But I think in an Ange system, as the number 9, as Ange likes to play them, you need someone who's a good finisher, which I believe he is, and you need someone who's a bit of a fox in the box. And I think Jonathan David could represent that. But again, I think I agree with you. I'd prefer to go for a Gift Orban, spend 25, 30 million on him, than go and push the boat out and spend 60, 70 million on Jonathan David. I just feel like Gift Orban represents much better value than a Jonathan David right now. Next up, let's talk about Mehdi Taremi. Romano says that Tottenham have parked their interest now in Porto's Taremi. The striker is no longer considered a top priority, with other opportunities in the market being explored. I imagine he's talking about Gift Orban there. But Sim, I mean, this is the right decision, isn't it?
It never really made too much sense to me to get Taremi. As much as I do think he's a good striker, at 31 years of age, is that the direction we really want to go in right now when we're looking to kind of rebuild the team? He's already like kind of hit a ceiling, and I think it's a pretty good ceiling. But like, you're talking about 30 million for him. Why? It makes no sense to go for him rather than Orban, even though Taremi's more proven. I think that's just too short-term thinking when we're looking for a long-term project right now.
Yeah, I mean, that's the deal just doesn't. Whenever we've gone for people these ages, it's normally on a free or a very low fee. Yes, we need a striker. Yes, he's a very good striker, but we're not paying that sort of money for someone at that stage of their career.
And it's older than Harry Kane.
Exactly. It just doesn't make sense. Like Simeon said, when you've got the 2 strikers we just spoke about, they're a lot younger and they've got a lot more time that they can impact us. I didn't see the deal in the first place.
Agreed. Another one of your favourites, Eberechi Eze. Romano says that Tottenham really like Eze. They appreciate him. At the moment, the idea is that Crystal Palace want to keep the player, and at the moment, it's only appreciation, no negotiation for Spurs on Eberechi Eze. Where do you see him fitting in at Spurs?
Well, first of all, appreciation, not negotiation. That's a new catchphrase. You need to think to,
I think they should bring out a banner. Appreciation, not negotiation at Spurs.
That's a new buzzword sentence we got there. I think Eze, when we were going for Maddison, I wanted him over Maddison, but only because what I love with him, and the one thing I think Maddison can't offer, is that pace and power to go past people. But we saw that with Basuma, so that kind of counteracted that. But I think Eze is a wonderful player. And we look at it, and last few years we've looked at our bench and thought, what the hell is that? There's not real competition for places. That bench was sometimes filled up with youth products just to fill up the space. You put him in that you put him on the bench or the starting lineup, he could do the Maddison, he could play on the wing, he could do everything. But the one thing it will ramp up the competition for places and the need to be on your game all the time. And I would love Eze at the football club. Love it.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, I completely love Eze. I would love him at Spurs. And even if we have players in those positions, I know it's not maybe a top priority, but they are looking at potentially bringing in a midfielder. So, I mean, if they could push the boat out to get Eberechi Eze in, I think it would be a fantastic signing, but I just can't see them doing it.
Well, yeah, I think Paul O'Keefe was saying that Tottenham inquired and Palace would demand 60+ million plus add-ons on top of that. So to spend that kind of money on Eze in positions, look, you could say he's probably maybe an upgrade on the left, or you could say he's competition with Maddison. I just think we've got bigger priorities than that. So if we're going to spend that kind of money, I don't know if I'd want to spend it on Eze right now. But I love Eze. I think he's class. I would love to bring him in, but it's a big outlay for a player who's just not completely necessary right now, as much as I think he's brilliant.
Do you think it would be like not a similar signing in terms of quality, but a similar signing in terms of gaps in the squad to when we signed Richarlison last summer?
Potentially, something like that. I guess, look, competition is never a bad thing. And when you're improving the level of the squad, I'm never going to be upset about upping the level. And Eze definitely does that. And he provides a good option as an alternative to Maddison. And he provides he'll probably be our best left winger, to be honest, if we do sign him. But Son's our captain now. He's probably going to be playing a lot there. You just signed Solomon on a free. You've still got Perisic there. So you're really going to splash 60 million. What are you going to do with those other players? Lo Celso's staying as well. And so I'm not saying he's not better than those players. Of course he is. But you've made the decision to keep those players around. So why are you going to go and spend 60 million on Eze?
If Barcelona come in for a £20 million bid for Giovanni Lo Celso, would you take that opportunity to upgrade him to Eze?
100%. 100%.
Yeah, I think that's the move to go, isn't it?
100%. I'll do that in a heartbeat.
Yeah. All right, let's move on and let's talk about Romelu Lukaku. Ali Gold says that Spurs have distanced themselves from a move for Chelsea's Romelu Lukaku. The 30-year-old is unlikely to be a good fit for Postecoglou's system, which requires a constantly moving and pressing central striker. And I'm very happy to hear this news, to be honest. What about you, Sim?
Yeah, I agree. I don't think Lukaku's going to be able to do the thankless running that Postecoglou requires from his strikers. He's not the hardest worker. I actually do think in a game like yesterday, I would have seen the value in someone like Lukaku. I actually think he probably would have been quite a valuable player against a low block, better than like what Richarlison could have offered, in my opinion. But in most other games, in a league like the Premier League, where most defences are getting more of a higher line and most defences are being more aggressive, and you need to be more dynamic up front, I don't know if Lukaku is right for that right now, and especially for what Ange wants, and especially as well, his first touch, we all know it still needs massive work and all that kind of stuff. He's got a great finishing ability, but he's been off form for a while. He's going to command big wages. He's going to think he's like a big star player when he's still got a bit to prove right now because of where his career's gone over the last couple of years. Doesn't seem like a good move. And he's 30. I don't know. I think it's right to move on. I wouldn't consider him right now.
I think he just doesn't tick any of the boxes.
Yeah.
But Brian, you a fan of Romelu?
I am not. I most certainly am not. I mean, thank God we've distanced ourselves. I can't believe we're obviously any striker that's available now, Spurs are going to get linked to for obvious reasons. This one is the biggest hell no of all of them. I just don't get it, and I just don't want it.
Well, lucky for you, it's not happening. Clement Longley, let's talk about him. Sport are claiming that Tottenham have become tired of Barcelona's demands to receive 15 million euros for Clement Longley and could now throw in the towel. Brian, why don't we throw in the towel when we got rid of him?
Why is there a towel?
Why is there talks? But all I'm going to say is, Daniel Levy, thank you. Thank you for once having this tough negotiation stance.
Someone clip that.
I mean, honestly, I have never, obviously people have known I've never wanted to play it, but thank you, Barcelona, for doing this. Thank you, Daniel, for throwing in the towel. Thank you, Daniel, for not pursuing it. And this deal should never even been spoke about in the first place. Just thank you for being so strict in your transfer negotiations. For once, I support this.
But, having said that, since Ange has come in, Davinson Sanchez seems to have improved. Could he not do that with Clement Longley, Sim?
I just don't think that. Look, I was watching Mickey van de Ven and how he played against Brentford, and watching how he was able to cover so much ground, and how his pace was so valuable when you're playing a high line. It just doesn't fill me with confidence thinking of what Longley would have done in some of those positions. And I just think if we're serious about rebuilding this squad and going into a new era, then why bring back someone who we just think we know is an average defender? And as much as I think, yeah, maybe you could improve under Ange, but that's not good enough. We don't want improvement. We want players who fit the system.
Yeah.
And Longley isn't that.
Yeah, 100% spot on. And last but not least, let's give you an update on Cuti Romero's injury yesterday. Dan Kilpatrick says that Tottenham will assess Romero before a decision is made on his availability to face Manchester United. If an assessment by the club's medical confirms a concussion, he'll be subject to a Premier League return to play protocol, leaving him unavailable for at least 6 days. So that means will that mean he misses it? Is that 6 days away?
Yeah.
It is 6 days. He'll just miss it, won't he?
It'd be the last day. So
Yeah.
look, we'll have to wait. I mean, it was a concussion, so I guess if it does follow the concussion protocol, he would have to miss the game, which would be gutting, considering I actually thought he had a really good start to the game against Brentford. It was looking great, and then obviously the incident happened. So look, nothing's confirmed, but judging logically, I mean, they didn't tick concussion sub, so I don't know if that has any bearing on whether it's considered a concussion or whatever. And maybe Spurs can say, well, it's not really a concussion. I don't know.
They'll err on the side of caution, whatever
yeah,
happens.
Ange said, he's going to follow the doctor's or protocols and whatever he decides. So if they decide it's concussion, well, look, it's only one game, is what it is. You've got to live with it.
Yeah, it's just a shame it's a massive game against Man United, Ange's first home game. But do you think he's going to make it, Brian?
Oh, it's a tough one, isn't it? We really hope so. One thing I will say about this scenario, I was so impressed for Ange doing what he did and taking him off. I mean, we all know what happened with Jan Vertonghen in Ajax, and he continued, and you could see how bad, and you can't mess about with head injuries. And I applauded Postecoglou for doing what he did, and his health comes first, doesn't it? Over football, we all pray to God that he can make it. It depends where under the protocol it falls under, doesn't it?
Yeah, well, we'll have to wait and see for that one. But that is your Tottenham update for today. Brian, big up for coming on today. And we'll see you all very soon. Like, subscribe and comment. And as always, come on you Spurs.